You to the ground at the Bomas of Kenya. I'll be telling you more about what is happening this morning as the party is just about to begin that meeting. So on my far left, it's a panel of two gentlemen this morning, and on my far left is Alenga Torostad. He's a communications expert and also our political analyst. Thank you so much for creating time for us.
Thank you, Safin.
All right, and of course we have Dr. Churchill Saoke. Dr. Churchill is a lecturer and also a political and governance expert. Thank you, Churchill, for creating time for us on a Sunday that many call Super Sunday. Don't know why. We are yet to find out whether it's Super Sunday, but this is why many would have called it a Super Sunday. Let's take you to the Bomas of Kenya this particular morning. We have our team on the ground, Kamche Menza and Timothy Kipnusu, following up this for us. But as you can see on your screens there, just a shot of the Bomas of Kenya this morning. This is going to be the venue of the Amani National Party National Delegates Conference, I beg your pardon. And of course, this particular morning, the party leader Musalia Mudavadi is expected to be making the big announcement. We are yet to find out what it is going to be. All we know is that, according to what he has been saying, even across the media, is that it is going to change the political landscape. I just want to take you through a bit of the program that we have received in our newsroom this morning about what is to be expected at this particular venue that you see on your screens there. The day was supposed to start as early as 9 a.m. So we hope there's a lot of activities already taking place on their end. And this is when the party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, was to leave his current home for the Bomas of Kenya. He was going to make quite a number of stopovers along the way. And of course, at around 10:30, he was going to make the entry at the Bomas of Kenya and inspect quite a number of things that have been set up there at the Bomas of Kenya. Of course, we will be following this particular event for you from the time that he gets to the venue and what will be happening. So it will be broadcast live right here on KBC Channel 1. And of course, we'll be linking up with our team on the ground. We will be speaking with quite a number of people who are attending, some leaders, of course, just to give us the anticipation and what is going to be informing this National Delegates Conference. So in studio, what we want to do is just to prepare you for that as we gear up to that particular time when the earthquake will take place. But for now, let me bring in my guests into this conversation. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for creating time for us.
Welcome.
All right, so you've seen there, not much is happening this particular time, but we expect that as time goes, there's going to be build-up of activities at the Bomas of Kenya. That is where all eyes are on right now this morning, courtesy of what the party leader said. I don't know, I don't want to push you to tell us this big announcement. It still lies with Musalia Mudavadi. But if you look at the political developments in the country, and of course this man Musalia Mudavadi and his aspiration to become the country's fifth president, what do you think it's likely to be, Alenga?
Thank you, Safin, for this worthy presence on your show once again. I truly appreciate. I think this is going to be, Musalia Mudavadi's earthquake is going to be a very unique earthquake because it's going to affect only 3 places. That is the Bomas of Kenya, where it will be happening. And then it will touch Vihiga County, where Musalia comes from, specifically Mululu Village. And then it might have a little effect on Sugoi, where his sponsors are coming from. So clearly that's what it will look like. So the rest of the country can sit pretty, do what you want to do on Sunday, go out and have fun, don't fear any earthquake. But then I
actually didn't even see you go that direction. Come on, I mean, you have to be fair.
We have to.
There's been a big announcement about an announcement that is to happen today. You can't say that announcement is not going to have any impact in the national landscape. It can't just be Bomas of Kenya and the places you've touched for whatever reason.
We have to bring confidence in our viewers that they are safe, But I think what the Mudavadi announcement for today will, the biggest effect it will bring is it will be a big blow to the hospitality industry because in the recent past, they've been walking from hotel to hotel, doing a meeting to discuss their next meeting, then another meeting to find out if they can meet again, then back and forth, back and forth. But then back to the scenarios that we can expect for today. One, you'll expect Musalia Mudavadi to tell us the obvious that is going to be on the ballot. Number 2, Well, I expect Musalia Mudavadi to tell us he's bolting out of OKA and making a coalition of his own. Number 3, he's likely, and in that coalition of his own, is likely to pair with a few people from they call themselves the Mount Kenya Unity Forum, something like that. The one that brings together, I think, Moses Kuria, former Governor Kafogo, and Martha Karua, and a few other people from central Kenya. And then lastly, I would just think maybe Musalia Mudavadi will tell us he will not really tell us who he is going to back in the next general election, but he will hint. There will be a lot of body language, there'll be a lot of haptics that will tell a lot in his next move. But fundamentally, to discuss is what is the impact of today's function to the election of 2022.
All right, before we get there, and actually that is what we are looking at, the impact of this announcement, because that is what has been his focus. Is he has been very categorical to say that whatever he's going to announce today is actually going to change a lot going forward. In the interest of fairness, I'd like to bring you in, Churchill. I mean, I'm expecting you'll be a bit fair. We do not know what he's going to say. We do not know what impact it is going to have. But if you look at the build-up to this day, and if you look at the man Musalia Mudavadi and how he has played his politics of becoming the next president, what do you think is going to be this announcement? What is this earthquake going to be all about?
I think Musalia Mudavadi, from his past political life, has been known to be a person who is being led to do things. And he's been sort of branded like somebody who is very indecisive and someone who needs to be given guidance in his political life, right from, when Moi took him over, and in 2002, when it was expected that he was to be endorsed, and he had to do what was termed as a vile betrayal of the opposition at that time, and in 2013, was it 2013 when he went it alone? So I think this time he is trying to get himself out of the corner and wanting freedom to make his own choices and make his own decisions politically. And maybe this is one of the things that he's trying to do. You see, there was a time that he mentioned that, I'm going to be very unpredictable this time. So in his thinking, perhaps, is that he has considered his predictability an impediment to his political life. And so he's starting a new journey where he wants to champion his own destiny and make his own decisions and be able to make this decision irrespective of who is against or for. There's a tweet that came from them at some point when he's saying that, ANC has come to a decision that let nobody choose friends for us, and if you have a problem with anybody, you should not assume the problem is. So sort of he's coming from a position where he was cornered, and he needs to come out of that corner and be able to make political decisions without necessarily considering his past relationship. So I expect the decision that he's going to make today to be one that is... He
has already made it. He just wants to announce it.
Sort of like, to be one that is really divergent and, contrary to the political positions that he has been in. Could it be OKA, could it be NASA or something of that sort? Of course, NASA is already gone. And there was this OKA thing that was still there, that was sort of still making him to align his political thinking in a given direction. Could it be that this is the earthquake that he wants to get out of? That, I'm in this race, and, if you are in OKA and you don't want to support me, then get out of my way. Could be that is the earthquake he's talking about.
Do you think he had a choice, though, if you look at him as a politician and his ability to actually go independent, let me use that term, and speak with authority and categorically say that as ANC, this is the direction we are going to take and we are not looking any other side? Do you think he is at that point? Was he at that point even before?
That's the biggest challenge currently he has, because you see, he's a person who has always been considered a child of somebody. So removing that tag from him today is still going to be a very big challenge. In fact, when you even look at public opinion, you know, in this, whatever is happening in Bomas, people are still going to ask the questions, who is behind Musalia? Are you getting? Who is behind Musalia? And that is the biggest tag that is really going to affect the move that he's going to make. Because either way, people will still not believe that Musalia is himself.
Alenga, your response to my first question actually just sort of, you know, marries with what a point that Churchill has raised there, considering, you know, if Musalia is doing this on his own, or is a child of somebody, or is being supported by somebody. Do you think he is actually doing this on his own? And can he, from where you sit?
You know, it's very, very important for us to unpack Musalia Mudavadi very fast before the rains find us. If you go back to, if you capture the tweet that Daktari shared, it points you to, you know, some things Musalia Mudavadi was trying to communicate, because every word has a connotative and denotative meaning. So when Musalia says, "You will not choose for us friends," you stop there. Then he says, "Your enemy should not necessarily be our enemy." Then now, if you place that question or that statement in the context of the Kenyan politics, you'll realize who is the enemy of who in terms of the current government setup, and who is being looked at as a friend of the government. And so clearly, so in other words, to make it very simple, Musalia Mudavadi was trying to say, I have a certain gravitas towards William Ruto, the deputy president, though you don't like him, but I don't really find a reason to hate him, you know. So,
but that is not what he said.
Yes, so we're just trying to, because statements are not, political statements are never thrown just like that. They have a meaning. And then number two, if you put that, if you shelve that and then you come to the situation of 31st of January 2021, Senator Malala is holding a sports day in Mumias Sports Complex, and the guest of honor who disguises himself as a visitor is the deputy president, and then he utters some words in that meeting, and then fast forward, there's a meeting of UDA in Eldoret, and Cleophas Malala, who is a very strongly spoken person in ANC, attends that meeting, and he says some statements. And then when Musalia is confronted by the press to demystify what if he stands with those statements of his senator, he says he uttered those statements in his own capacity. I am trying to imagine if the same statements, if the same Cleophas Malala had attended an Azimio la Umoja conference and made such statements, what would be the reaction of Musalia Mudavadi? So then when you unpack that, then it leads you to who is funding the NDC in Bomas today.
We're talking about funding though, and pictures you're seeing on your screens there at the Bomas of Kenya. This is where the ANC party is going to be having their National Delegates Conference. What we are seeing there is just a build-up of activities as people are already trickling in to settle in before the party leader Musalia Mudavadi gets there, and we get to hear what the party has to say. But then as we wait for that, Alenga, why is it so hard to believe that Musalia Mudavadi, the person that he is, and he's a man who, it's not the first time he's trying to go for this bid of becoming the country's president, and he's not new into politics. Why is it hard to believe that he actually can marshal such a crowd and have such a forum and announce his own independent decision, politically speaking, without having to be supported or sponsored by any other person?
Safin, where I come from, they say, Awam does not dance, but that is its own way of walking. If you look at Musalia Mudavadi, how he behaves towards transitional elections is so predictable. In 2002, everybody had their dreams in Musalia Mudavadi. We were already envisaging him as the next president. He was placed in a premium position in the NAC coalition, but then he bolted out at the 11th hour. That was the first transitional election. The second transitional election was 2013. What did Mudavadi do? At the end of in the evening, he signed a memorandum of understanding with TNA that was re-signed at 30 minutes later, and he was termed as a demon or something, and then it flopped like that. In 2022, another transitional election, you cannot expect anything different from him. And if you go to the drawing board and ask yourself, the first time that Musalia presented himself as a presidential candidate in the ballot, that was 2013. He got about, I think it was 482,000 votes. He could not even marshal half of the Luhya vote in Western Kenya. So if you're looking at such a candidate, and you're expecting a gigantic move from them in 2022, then it's really, I think the Bomas is already an anticlimax in itself. But then you look at what Daktari had talked about, the nature in which Musalia was introduced into politics. It makes us doubt whether he was a politician by making, or he became a politician by circumstances. So Mudavadi gets into the parliament in 1989 after the demise of his great dad. May his soul continue to rest in peace. And then he's babied through the system. And a lot of great things are according to him, and he sort of gets used to that kind of environment where something is created for you. And that is why even him differing with the NASA arrangement was on the basis that he had expected somebody to say Mudavadi Tosha. But again, when you come to vying for a presidential seat, there are three things that are very fundamental. Number one, you must have resources, funding. It's not a joke.
As we continue with that line of thought, I just want to tell our viewers what's happening. This is outside the Bomas of Kenya, the pictures we're getting right now. And you can see there it's a beehive of activities as members of the Amani National Congress are just, preparing themselves to officially begin their National Delegates Conference. We are seeing arrival of quite a number of leaders there. I'm not quite sure who just arrived, but you saw there an excitement and, just members of that particular political party just going, out and about just to welcome some of the leaders who are arriving at that particular place. We will be telling you more as soon as we get more information from the ground. But this is at the Bomas of Kenya. Today, the Amani National Congress Party is having their National Delegates Conference. Yes, of course. And before I interrupted you, Alenga, you were taking us through the history of Musalia Mudavadi and why it justifies the fact that you do not sincerely think that this has Musalia Mudavadi written all over it. There has to be somebody behind this.
Yeah, there's definitely somebody behind all this. And Safin, the truth is, Musalia Mudavadi is coming into this election with one belief that he's going to be the person that will cause a runoff, so that his activities will ensure that we do not have a winner who gets 50+1, because this race has already shaped itself as a two-horse race, and that is between the Deputy President William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga. So clearly Musalia Mudavadi is being used by one of the top contenders to come and cause a runoff. So therefore, after the runoff, when no candidate has garnered 50+1, then Musalia Mudavadi can now be used to pour his weight up on that leader of whom he is gravitating towards. So clearly, coming into this race, he's coming to this race from a point of weakness already. As while Raila Odinga is coming in to win, while Dr. William Ruto is coming in to win, Musalia is coming in to cause a runoff. What an interesting...
That's you saying. It's a matter of wait and see. But I don't know what you think, Churchill, about the sentiments by Alenga. And, what would it take for Musalia Mudavadi to redeem himself, to remove this tag of being somebody's child, of being supported, for him to come out of that corner that you are saying, so that as he tweets and says, going forward as a party, we are going to chart our way forward without being influenced. What will it take for that to happen?
For you to get into the national leadership and have people and supporters follow you in millions, people must believe in you. And for people to believe in you, you must really have a cause. There has to be a cause that you stand for, something that people can put on you and say, you know what, this is Safin and this is who Safin is, this is what Safin has stood for, and this is why we follow Safin. If that is not there, then you will never really have a following. And that is the greatest challenge that I find Musalia Mudavadi having. He does not have, there is no clear cause that is attributed to him that can make people really die and follow him to the core. And that is now what, when you look at his other competitors, you know, there are people who follow the former prime minister because of his cause in democratization and fighting for freedoms of the country. There are those who follow, you know, the deputy president because of what maybe some of the gains that, you know, they have helped him through the times that they have been in government and all through that time. But now when you look at the character of Musalia, he's the kind of person who has always been an assistant. All right? He has always acted as an assistant. And whenever you act as an assistant, for you to become the principal must support you.
And I think that is what he's trying to do now, but I'll be engaging you more on that when we come back. I just want us to get a feel of what is happening on the ground at the Bomas of Kenya, and we have Timothy Kipnusu on standby for us. He went there bright and early just to, you know, tell us and find out what is happening at the Bomas of Kenya. Kipnusu, a very good morning to you. I mean, there's a lot happening at the Bomas of Kenya.
Sana mwenzangu Safin Acheng Ouma, ukiwa kwenye makao makuu ya shirika la utangazaji nchini KBC. Kama ulivyodokeza, tunakujia moja kwa moja kutoka kwenye ukumbi wa Bomas, siku hii muhimu zaidi katika kalenda ya Jamhuri ya Kenya, hasa kwenye kalenda ya wafuasi wa chama cha ANC. Manake siku hii ndio iliyokuwa ikisubiriwa kwa hamu na hamumu, nyuta na mate, kuhusiana na tangazo ambalo atalitoa kiongozi wa chama cha ANC Musalia Mudavadi alipodokeza Jumapili iliyopita kwenye ziara yake kwenye gatuzi la Nyamira kwamba kutakuwa na tetemeko kubwa la ardhi ambalo bila shaka litaweza kubadilisha mustakabali wa siasa wa taifa hili, mtazamaji. Na kwa hivyo tuko hapa kwenye ukumbi wa Bomas, eneo ambalo atawasili na hajawasili katika ukumbi huu. Baadhi tu ya wale wajumbe ambao walikuwa wafike tayari wameshawasili na wanaendelea kuwasili. Tunatarajia kwamba wajumbe wapatao 6,000 watakuwa wanafika hapa ili mkutano huu uanze kuanza rasmi, ambapo bila shaka kilele cha mkutano huu ni tangazo ambalo atalitoa kiongozi wa chama cha ANC Musalia Mudavadi. Tayari nimemwona seneta wa gatuzi la Kakamega Cleophas Wahungu Malala, ambaye tayari ametangaza nia ya kuwania kiti cha ugavana. Amekuwa mfuasi sugu wa kiongozi wa chama cha ANC Musalia Mudavadi. Tayari amewasili hapa na baadhi ya wajumbe wa chama cha ANC. Kwa hivyo wakati wote kutoka sasa mkutano huu utakuwa unaanza pindi tu kiongozi huyu wa chama cha ANC Musalia Mudavadi atakapokuwa anawasili. Hali ya usalama imeimarishwa kote nje na ndani ya ukumbi huu wa Bomas, na ilikuwa hata vigumu sisi kama wanahabari kufika hapa, manake lazima uweze kuonyesha stakabadhi ikiwa umeweza kualikwa, ikiwa ni mjumbe na masuala kama hayo. Na vile vile tunaharifiwa kwamba pindi tu atakapokuwa nakamilisha kutoa tangazo lake ambalo limesubiriwa zaidi hii leo, ataweza kuhutubia umati wa wananchi ambao umemsubiria kule nje, ambao hawajaweza kuruhusiwa kuweza kufika hapa kwenye ukumbi wa Bomas Safini. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa ange hapa kufuatilia matukio yatakapokuwa yanaweza kuendelea hapa kwenye ukumbi wa Bomas. Na naona tu mabango ambayo yameweza kuashiria uungwaji mkono wa Musalia Mudavadi. Kauli mbiu kwenye mabango ambayo yako hapa ni uchumi bora, pesa mfukoni. Kumbuka kwamba Musalia Mudavadi amekuwa akizungumzia kuhusiana na deni la kitaifa na amekuwa akilalamikia swala hili, na hii leo basi tutaweza kusubiria atazungumzia
All right, thank you so much, Timothy Kipnusu, bringing us, the reportage of what is happening right now at the Bomas of Kenya. We apologize for the technicalities we are facing, but that is actually what is happening right now as we speak. There's still a lot of anticipation. The party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, is supposed to be arriving there any minute from now, and we have our team on the ground to cover that for you. But what is happening right now, according to reports we are receiving, is just arrival of some of the party leaders, and of course the supporters of the Amani National Congress Party also arriving and settling in ahead of their national delegates conference. And we understand from what Kipnusu is telling us is that the Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala is already at the Bomas of Kenya as we speak, among other leaders as well. So we'll be getting more information and more details about who is in attendance and what is expected as we continue to cover this live for you. But in studio, we have been having a conversation around the anticipated announcement by the Amani National Congress party leader Musalia Mudavadi. We know that he has gone on record in the last few days preparing the country for this big announcement that he says is going to cause an earthquake. And this earthquake, we assume it's politically speaking. So those of you who had already started making jokes about a literal form of earthquake, it's a political earthquake. Of course, we expect that a lot is going to be changing going forward ahead of the 2022 general election. And that is what we have been talking in studio about concerning what are the chances of this decision by Musalia Mudavadi changing the political narrative in the country. And I've been having this conversation with Alenga Torostad, a communication expert and political analyst, and Dr. Churchill Saoke, a governance expert and political analyst as well. And gentlemen, before we went to the Bomas of Kenya, Churchill, you were talking about the things that Musalia needs to do to change his brand, the way that he has been branded as somebody who, cannot really go it alone, cannot make his own decisions and all that. And I just wanted to pick up from there as you take us through that, because it's going to be very crucial for him to get to his aspiration of becoming the next president, even if it's not 2022, even if it's another year, even if it's 2022. A lot has to be at play. What is that a lot?
He has to identify a national cause and rally people around that cause, so that those who believe in him will believe in him because of that specific cause that he's in for. And that being, other than that, he also needed to be very keen on building strategic alliances that will be able to help him to galvanize the population around that cause. Like, for example, when you look at the organization of this kind of event, which people were really anticipating, this was one of the opportunities that he would have really used to even show that I'm really the man to beat, and even if I don't win this election, I'm really the person to look up to in 2027 or something of that sort. And you look at the seriousness of a person by the kind of caliber of event organization that he has, and when you look at the display of this, that is really missing. I'm sorry to say, but the presidential nature of this kind of event is really missing. And I think that his organizers have really lost it all. This is free airtime that he's getting. He should have actually taken advantage of that, and made people to believe that even at this time there should have been messages going around in this forum to show who really Musalia is. What has he stood for? Why is it necessary for Kenya to have a serious discussion of Musalia as a candidate of his own and not of any other person? So these are chances that he's losing. But I think even moving forward, he should not just present himself. In the past, he has presented himself sort of like a safe pair of hands. Considering, like we look at in 2013, when there was two factions that were really emotive, the bipolar nature of Kenyan politics, and he presented himself, I am the safest pair of hands. Well, it worked at that time, but for how long? People need to see the leadership in you. What are you going to provide for us? What is the hope that you have in us? You were once the Minister for Finance, yes. what is it that this nation needs you for? So that cause is not yet there.
All right, I understand where both of you are coming from, but if I take you back to that time when people considered Musalia Mudavadi a safe pair of hands, it's because of how he played his politics. And there were even talk about people tired of the hard politics, the combative sort of way that our politicians played their politics. If that is what you describe as being a farmer, being firm, being independent, being somebody who is looked at as presidential material, Musalia has played his politics differently. Can't that, is that not sellable?
That is fine. It's sellable.
Is that not sellable?
It's sellable, yes, but then how far did it go beyond that? What strategies were laid therefore to make him nationalistic as a, to bring him as a statesman that is as safe for this country? Because you see, it was a safe pair of hands at that bipolar nature of Kenyan politics at that time. When the government cooled and there was already government in place, he became irrelevant. I get it. So not until he comes out and raise that safe pair of hands and create the statesmanship out of it, and make people see the hope in that safe pair of hands, you're not going to have supporters. And that's why when he goes out, you cannot see many people, him attracting huge crowds, because people really don't see what you stand for.
Could we say that Kenyans are not used to this strategy of playing politics? It's not Musalia who is the problem, but it's what he's selling to the nation that is different. If we say we want to see Musalia going around in political rallies, attracting huge crowds, being combative and calling people names, the way politics is played in this country, wouldn't we be asking for too much, Alenga?
I think it's very wrong to say that Musalia has a style of politics, because there is really none. Musalia is basically fitting into the political space. Having come with the burden of being brought up and pushed, and then all the forces that were pushing him collapsed at one point, and then he remained in the ring. Now he has to figure out, what does a politician do? How do they talk to people? How do they sell their agenda? But most importantly, we are a country that is very historical. Our country has had significant struggles. And from those significant struggles, that's where leaders arose all the time. So Kenyans would naturally put premium on you based on your contribution in those struggles. Remember, when we were fighting for independence, there was a real struggle. And there are people who place themselves at the heart of that struggle. The moment we got independence, Kenyans were very confident with these people, and they ushered them into the first government of Kenya in 1963. People like Jomo Kenyatta did not have to struggle to be presidents of Kenya, because people had seen the significant impact they had had on that struggle. Then we come to the first constitutional changes that brought about the separation of Jaramogi and the late President Jomo Kenyatta. There was a struggle there, and certain people placed themselves in that struggle, and Kenyans recognized them. So we come down to the Moi era that was marred with a lot of injustices and human rights issues and stifling of the democratic space, and then that called for the need to have a second liberation. That second liberation, there are people that were at the center of it, and after that, they didn't have to struggle so much to endear themselves to the Kenyan politicians, to the Kenyan electorate. And then you ask yourself, while that was happening, where was Musalia Mudavadi? He was in the comfort of the trappings of power. He did not understand the need for the second liberation. In fact, he was on the side that was antagonistic to such struggles. Then fast forward, that regime of Moi comes to an end, and Musalia Mudavadi's soft underbelly is exposed. So you will not, today you will not really just tell Kenyans, I want to be president. Kenyans want to look down to your history. What is it that you have contributed to this fabric called Kenya? So when you're coming with no credentials to speak for yourself, then it becomes very difficult for you to endear to that population. And then again, contextually, Kenya is a naturally resilient country. So you have to have a narrative that shows me, that speaks survival to me, that speaks a certain struggle to me. That's why there's a huge constituency that listens to Deputy President William Ruto, because he speaks the language of Kenyans, of most Kenyans, the language of struggle, the language of toil, the language of sacrifice, and then they're like, oh, this guy identifies with us. And then you come to Raila Odinga, he speaks the language of a brighter Kenya, the language of a Kenya with immense human rights, immense respect for the law, and then you look back, he has fought for that law, he has delivered a constitution, he has been part of the forces that delivered the second liberation, and Kenyans stick. Then when they come to Musalia Mudavadi, this cockade is completely empty. Then you wonder.
But he has spoken very passionately about issues like economy. We've had him when economic restoration was a big issue. He came out and gave his opinion as a political leader. And actually, I mean, let's be fair to Musalia. You can't say that he has not said anything and has not touched on any button that relates to what Kenyans are going through.
The economy is a broad concept. Everybody knows, even a small child knows that this country is struggling. The economy is not doing well. So we are no longer interested about the what. We know the what. Yeah. Tell us the how. If you put a Musalia Mudavadi supporter or Musalia Mudavadi himself and give him an opportunity to tell you how is he going to fix the economy, point 1, 2, 3, they will tell you nothing. They'll just tell you pesa mfukoni, economy. Those are things that people understand. When the people who rose in the 80s complained about the single party rule of President Moi's regime, they offered a solution. And they agitated for that solution until it was delivered by the repealing of Section 2A. When after that, when people ganged up and they said, we want a new constitution, they chatted away. They started having town hall meetings. They started having review conferences. They put up focus groups, lobby groups, and they deliver the constitution. So if you want to change it's a reality that the next liberation that we're going to is an economic liberation. But this economic liberation, you will not come to it with slogans. You will not come to it with theory. You have to come to it with concrete points. This is how we're going to fix the economy. Number 1, we will do this. Number 2, we will do this. Number 3, we'll do this. Then Kenyans can sit down and say, by the way, he said he'll do this. Will it really, really fix the economy? If Kenyans feel that what you're saying is true, they will rally behind you. But if you tell me what I can hear Mama Mboga telling me when I go to buy Sukuma Wiki from her and tells me, hey, you uchumi imekuwa ngumu, and then you also tell me the same, and you want that to be a political, an election incentive for me, it's really wrong.
All right. Aren't we jumping before the gun? Aren't we being unfair in judging Musalia? Today it's the day he's having his National Delegates Conference. If I look at history and how it's been done, this is where a party would endorse a presidential, aspirant. This is where they would say, we've given you the green light and the blessing as a party to vie. And then the person would now officially launch his presidential bid or whatever it is they are vying for. That is where they say, what is it that they stand for? That is where they tell the nation, this is what I'm going to do for you if you give me this position. Aren't we judging Musalia unfairly? Has he gotten that opportunity and wasted it yet?
Not really. I think maybe it's because of the kind of competitors that he has. Because you see, there is something that Alenga has mentioned which is very important. In the life of a nation, you cannot eliminate the rising and the emergence of a leader from the struggles of that country. The struggles of the country make leaders to emerge. And if you do not exist at that time of suffering, then the possibilities of you emerging as a national leader at that time is very difficult. And it is until, if you're not existing, then maybe somebody else must hold your hand. So that is, we are not being very unfair to him. He has been able to serve the country in capacities like, in finance, where he was able to do some immense work. But then that is like any other public service that any other person has done. But where have you been able to stand in the struggles and the pain of Kenyans, where Kenyans have lost blood? That is where leaders emerge. And that's why you find it is very difficult for him to compare himself with the other candidates. Because the other candidates have been very decisive to make extremely hard decisions at very hard moments of the country. So that is what people, that is what sort of the country sort of is like seeing that, you know what, the Musalia we see, he could be a leader, but he's a leader who must be guided. Because at critical moments of decision making of the country, he has always been guided. And he has not been able to stand, for example, and say, I'm saying no for this because of, perhaps it is going to be the first time he's going to do that today, and it could change his history of politics moving forward.
It could be the earthquake.
It could be the earthquake. It could be the earthquake, maybe. But as is now, he still has not reached that point where people can consider him that, you know what, we have said, I have said this as Musalia, and I mean this as an individual, and people not attribute it to somebody else.
What would be that earthquake? Let's remove Musalia out of the equation and look at this issue objectively. If he was to come out and make that big announcement, and Lenga, from where you sit, what is it that would shock you as a political pundit? What is it that would catch you by surprise? Because both of you have said how he has played his politics is a bit predictable. What is it that you feel, if he did at this point, now this will take us back and we'll be like, wait, what is that one thing?
Let's contextualize that question, Safin. Right now, the Azimio la Umoja movement has already endorsed Raila Odinga as the presidential candidate in a very big ceremony that happened at the Kasarani Stadium. The Wiper leader has had his NDC and declared his presidential bid. There's even a guy from Vihiga County who declared his presidential bid yesterday, Ruben Kigame. So ideally, Vihiga County is having 2 presidential candidates as far as this is shaping up. So what is that different thing that Musalia Mudavadi will say today? He will definitely say he's going to vie for the presidency. That he has already been saying, and people are prepared for that. Number 2, he might say he's forming a new coalition. I think that may be the only surprising bit. And surprising in this context, Musalia Mudavadi bolted out of NASA and cited there was an issue where the ANC party was being bullied by ODM, which you considered as a bigger party. That is also pointing out weakness, because when you categorize yourself as a small party and you cry foul that you're being bullied, then you are actually deflating your supporters outside there, who look at you as big and able. So, and then number 3, Musalia Mudavadi bolted out of NASA and cited there was dishonesty. And then they went and formed the One Kenya Alliance. So Kenyans focused on One Kenya Alliance, and they are like, okay, let's wait. And they promised us, Mudavadi himself said, there will be a scientific research that will be carried out to inform who can be the party leader, who can be the flag bearer for One Kenya Alliance. That happened, and the results were tabled in a retreat in Nakuru, which Mudavadi refused to attend. So you see that kind of, then you start now asking who is dishonest, because you are running from dishonesty. You're propagating dishonesty yourself. Even if you do not agree with a document brought by as a product of the research you have funded, then why don't you be there to hear the findings being read to you in a matter of just being fair, you know, to the people you gave the task? Go and gather views for us and inform us that who can be the flag bearer for our coalition. And then before Kenyans can fathom where One Kenya Alliance is going to, after all the hotel and tea-taking parties, then you come and form another coalition. So what do you want us to really support?
All right.
So that really indicts his decisiveness as a person.
All right.
and what he truly stands for.
Right.
So what are the other, like say if he forms another coalition or announces another coalition as it is anticipated today, where does he leave One Kenya Alliance, which he founded?
All right, and we'll talk about the One Kenya Alliance and whether OKA is okay in just a bit. I want us to cross over back to the Bomas of Kenya and find out what is happening already. Time is actually, there's a lot of activity that has been building up at the Bomas of Kenya since morning as we wait for the arrival of the party leader Musalia Mudavadi. So what do we know for now? We have Kamche Menz on standby for us, just to give us a picture of what is happening as we speak. Kamche, a very good morning to you. Kindly bring us up to speed with what you know as we speak.
Naam, shukran sana mwenzangu Safina Cheng Ouma kutoka upande wa studio zetu. Picha tulizokuwa tukizipata awali, Safin, umeona ni zile za ukumbi maalum wa Bomas, ambapo wajumbe maalum wale wanaotoka upande wa Amani National Congress, ambacho ni chama chake Musalia Mudavadi, ndipo watakuwa wanakongamana pale leo kwake Mudavadi kufanya tangazo lake maalum ambalo alikuwa amesema litatikisa uwanja wa siasa humu nchini. Sasa pale ndio itakuwa inafanyika. Lakini hapa nilipo sasa leo, kama unavyoona Safine, ni uwanja. Tuko ndani bado ya uwanja mkuu wa Bomas, lakini huu ni uwanja maalum ambao ndo umetengwa, ambao baada ya Musalia Mudavadi kufanya tangazo lake pale maalum na wale wajumbe wake, kumbuka ni wajumbe takriban 6,000 ambao wanatarajiwa kuhudhuria kongamano hili. Sasa katika uwanja huu basi ndipo Musalia na viongozi wengine wa chama cha ANC watakuwa wanakuja baadaye kutaka kuzungumza na wafuasi wao kuhusu ni yepi ambayo wanayo kuhusu safari yao ya kutafuta uungwaji mkono kuelekea Ikulu. Sasa katika uwanja huu kuna mambo mengi ambayo yanafanyika. Kuna nyimbo ambazo zinaendelea sasa kama unavyosikia, ambazo zinawatumbuiza wale waliofika katika uwanja huu. Kunayo pia makundi mbalimbali ambayo yamejipatia lile jukumu la kutumbuiza wengine. Tunaweza sema kama pengine wamevaa nguo zao za kitamaduni hivi, wakijaribu kutumbuiza ama kujipatia wakati mzuri katika uwanja huu wa Bomas, manake hafla yenyewe bado haijaanza rasmi. Musalia Mudavadi ametoka kwake eneo la Karen mwendo wa saa 5 asubuhi ya leo, na tayari tunavyoongea sasa ameshafika, lakini hajaingia kule kwenye lile ama ule ukumbi maalum wa Bomas kuanza ile sherehe kamili. Ameingizwa tu mahali katika chumba tu cha kando kufanya mazungumzo ya faragha pengine na wanachama wake ama wale viongozi wakuu wa ANC, kuongea tu maneno mawili matatu kabla ya kuingia katika ule ukumbi. Lakini kama ulivyoona pia picha za pale ukumbini ni kwamba bado hawajafika viongozi wote ama wale wajumbe wote wanaotarajiwa. Bado ukumbi ule haujajaa kama inavyotarajiwa. Kwa hivyo hafla hiyo inaweza isianze sasa, kwa ile tu kusema kwamba wanaweza kuwa wanangoja wajumbe waweze kufika pale. Kwa hivyo Mudavadi tunavyosema sasa ameshafika, yuko katika hapa eneo hili la Bomas, lakini amehifadhiwa tu mahali fulani kwa mazungumzo ya faragha, pengine kwa kusubiri ule wakati mwafaka wake kutokezea na kuingia katika ule ukumbi wa Bomas kufanya matangazo maalum kama alivyokuwa amesema. Kumbuka ni safari yake ya siasa hii ambayo alianza kitambo. Amejaribu kuwania nafasi za urais, kutaka angalau katika hali ya kupata kiti cha urais humu nchini kwa muda, lakini hajaweza kufanikiwa. Kwa hivyo hii bado ni nafasi yake ambayo anasema ataitumia kutafuta uungwaji mkono katika kuwania kiti cha urais. Kumbuka Mudavadi ni mmoja wale viongozi wakuu wa ule muungano wa One Kenya Alliance, na tayari wale viongozi wengine katika ule muungano wa OKA walishafanya kongamano kama hili la kitaifa lililowaleta wajumbe mbalimbali katika nchi hii wanao support vile vyama vyao, na wale viongozi wa OKA walipata uungwaji mkono na wale wanachama wao na kuambiwa kwamba ndinyi mtakao peperusha bendera ya chama hiki, ima ni Wiper, ima ni Ford Kenya, ima ni KANU. Vile vile Mudavadi leo atakuwa amepewa ile nafasi ya kuambiwa kwamba nenda kachukue nafasi ama kapeleke sera zetu kule kuwania kiti cha urais, na ni hafla ambayo itafanyika hapa hii leo. Lakini cha muhimu ni kwamba Mudavadi alikuwa ameliamsha taifa akisema kwamba kuna tangazo muhimu ambalo atakuwa analisema siku hii ya leo, tangazo ambalo litatetemesha uwanja wa siasa. Haijulikani ni nini. Kumbuka Safina, kunazo tetesi zilizokuwepo kwamba huenda atakuwa anaungana na pengine ni miungano, kama anaweza kwenda peke yake kama ANC, ama kama ataungana na chama chake naibu rais William Ruto cha UDA, ama vile kama ataungana na Azimio la Umoja wa Kenya. Kumbuka Safin, hayo ndio masuala matatu alionayo. Manake upande wa OKA kama tunavyoona ni kwamba wale viongozi wa OKA kila mmoja anavutia kwake, kila mmoja anasema kwamba anataka yeye awe mpeperusha bendera wa muungano ule wa One Kenya Alliance, lakini bado hawajaamua ni yupi. Kuna timu ama kuna timu maalum ambayo ilikuwa imetengwa kujaribu kuangalia ni maelewano gani watayaweka kwa ajili ya kutaka kuona ni kiongozi yupi wa wale wanne wa OKA ambaye atakuwa ana ushawishi mkuu wa kuweza kupewa ile bendera ya One Kenya Alliance, lakini bado hilo halijafanyika. Panaye yule wa Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka, panaye Musalia Mudavadi, na panaye Moses Wetangula, vile pia panaye Gideon Moi, ambao wote wako pale katika ile One Kenya Alliance na tayari washapata uungwaji mkono na vyama vyao, lakini bado One Kenya Alliance haijaamua ni nani atakayepeperusha bendera ya muungano ule. Sasa haijulikani kama One Kenya Alliance itaweza kufanya vile ama watakuwa na mpango upi, lakini leo pana mambo ambayo yatafanyika, na ningeweza kusema kwamba wakati Musalia Mudavadi atakapofika katika ukumbi maalum ambao atafanya tangazo hilo, basi tutakuwa tunawaletea mtazamaji wetu picha hizo za moja kwa moja. Kwa sasa kama unavyoona uwanja huu bado haujajaa, lakini tunatarajia kwamba utajaa, manake ndio mkoko umealika maua sasa. Wafuasi wa ANC wanamiminika katika uwanja huu, na pindi mtazamaji utakapopata picha zaidi kutoka eneo hili, tutakuwa tunakuletea picha hizo kwa njia moja kwa moja. Ninaye mwenzangu Kipnusu aliye upande wa pili, naye pia atakuwa anatujuza ni yepi yanayofanyika kutoka upande ule. Kutoka kwangu kwa sasa na kurudisha kwako Safin Acheng Oma huko studio, lakini hapo baadaye tutakuwa tunaungana nawe. Kumbuka leo ni siku kuu yake Musalia Mudavadi, kwa hivyo wacha asherekee kama alivyokuwa amepanda. Kwako Safin Acheng Oma.
Asante sana Kamche Menza kwa ripoti uliyotupatia kutoka Bomas of Kenya. Kamche and Timothy Kipnusu there for us since morning, following up the National Delegates Conference by the Amani National Congress Party, and she was just painting a picture for us about what is happening currently as we speak at the Bomas of Kenya. And what you can see there, what is going on is just supporters of the party still trickling in and settling in as they wait for the party leader Musalia Mudavadi. According to the program, is that between now and the party leaders, the party supporters were supposed to be settling in and before the official commencement of the National Delegates Conference. So we believe that any minute from now, there's going to be a lot of build-up of activities at the Bomas of Kenya, and we'll be following up that for you live right here on KBC Channel 1, as we also stay very close in touch with our team on the ground to give us more developments as they go. But what we know is that the party leader Musalia Mudavadi today is going to be making an announcement concerning his political future come 2022, and we anticipate that this is going to be another milestone in his presidential bid. Remember, he's one of the people who's come out to declare their interest in clinching the country's top seat come 2022. So we still do not know what it is, but what we know according to what he has told us as a country is that it's going to shape a lot going forward. And that is what we have been talking about, the dynamics around this big announcement by Musalia Mudavadi, and also just looking at his candidacy and his history and how he has played his politics, his chances of becoming the president, what has worked, what has failed to work, what he needs to change going forward. And I've been doing this with a panel of two gentlemen, Alenga Torostad, a communication expert and political analyst, and of course also in studio with me is Dr. Churchill Saoke, a governance expert and political analyst. And gentlemen, before we went to Bomas of Kenya, Churchill, I just wanted you to continue. We were talking about Musalia Mudavadi, and I engaged, Torostad on this earlier. Just looking at this big announcement and, what Musalia Mudavadi has said is going to cause a major earthquake in the country. And I asked him, what is this thing that if Musalia announces is going to be an earthquake from where he sits? And he gave us quite a breakdown on putting that in context and giving us a breakdown on what he thinks Musalia is going to say and what would surprise him. What he says is new from his argument. What would be new is if he talks about his plans for a coalition. So that would be something different. But the fact that he's going to vie and he's going to go all the way to the ballot, that is nothing new. That is something he has always been saying. So I want to ask you the same question, but in a different perspective. Musalia Mudavadi today is having an opportunity to address the nation. He's currently, his forum is being watched by so many Kenyans across the country. This is a man who is aspiring to become the country's fifth president. When he finally gets to that podium, and he starts addressing the nation and Kenyans will be watching this, what would you tell Musalia Mudavadi to make sure he says before he leaves? How would he take advantage of this opportunity, which he has actually crafted very well? And people are really anticipating and waiting for this earthquake. So how should he take advantage of this attention that Kenyans are giving him today?
Well, he has an opportunity to convince the people of Kenya that, if he's vying, in case he's vying for presidency, then he has an opportunity to really implore on Kenyans why really Kenyans should vote for him. And voting for him for the sake of him being president and not necessarily for the purposes of, dividing votes to create a runoff. Because you see, that is, remember, if he goes and announces that he's going to vie for presidency, then there is likelihood of a backlash of his opponent branding him, somewhat a spoiler. And the moment that comes into you, that tag will have an effect in your future political career. So he really needs to find a way, if he's launching his presidential bid, to find a way of convincing the people of Kenya that, I'm into this because I believe that I need to be the president of Kenya. That is a big challenge that he really has to find a way of doing. Of course, the other thing is that he might also need to use the opportunity to sort of be very careful on his battles, because when you are wooing votes, and because there are votes that he's sharing with, for example, the former prime minister, and when he had hit the former prime minister, he most likely will lose those votes. So he needs to be very careful on how he woos some of these votes if he really has convinced Kenyans that he's serious into the president, is vying for the presidency of the country for the purpose of winning and not for the purpose of spoiling, which is a big challenge, and I've mentioned. And so he needs to come out and not be too much into fighting. When you look at previously, his key ally, for example, the senator for Kakamega, has always been on a war front with the former prime minister, everywhere. And some of those things really work against him, because people just see you as your agenda is the former prime minister and not necessarily Kenya. And those are some of the things that has contributed to the brand that he is a spoiler. So those are some of the things that he needs to...
But even after distancing himself from what Cleophas said,
politically...
Wasn't that...
politically people will read that as more like face saving. Because if you distance yourself, but still, even when you read through the words that he was speaking, it was not really distancing himself. He was just clearing the air in a smarter, diplomatic way, which if you read in between the lines, you could still know that, this was done with my blessing. So what I'm saying is that he must come out very clear in his agenda for the people of Kenya and why he needs to be voted in. And he also must really come out clear from the onset that, he needs to dispel some of the rumors that are doing around about his associations. For example, his political, of course, he has mentioned that nobody should make him choose his friends. But you know, the friends you choose in politics will also determine the kind of political capital that you get from any particular constituency. So how he brings that out today will, moving forward, determine his political future. It might help him in the short term in terms of, you know, gaining some, you know, political, maybe even finances or financing for his political campaigns, but into his future, it will affect him, because later on, people will still remember, the country will still remember what you did. Remember, even today, people still remember what he did in 2002, what he did in 2013. So, as Alenga said, we are now in another transition moment. People will still remember, even now,
how we will move.
Exactly. So he really needs to be very strategic and very careful on how he engages. And I think this is one of the biggest misgivings that I think I've always mentioned of him. His strategy, the strategy that he uses is extremely poor. Because, you know, leadership at the national level, you must be very, you know, it's never y equals to, like when I teach my students a straight line, y equals to mx plus c. It's never a straight line. You know, you must find ways of circumventing and sometimes navigating, sometimes withdrawing your, I mean, when you're a lion, when you're an antelope, not an antelope, but a rabbit fighting a hare, fighting an elephant or fighting a lion, you don't face it directly. You must be smart enough. And I think that is what is missing in Musalia Mudavadi now. He's trying to fight a battle with a giant.
All right. But part of the strategy is what even Alenga talked about. It could be that he may also talk about his coalition plans and how he wants to move going forward. How should he treat this subject and still maintain the Musalia Mudavadi, the independent leader who has spoken his mind and wants to go for the country's top seat? How should he treat this without people misinterpreting that to mean that he's bowing down or warming up to somebody else, or being funded or supported by somebody else?
What he just needs to do is, you know, don't be lukewarm. If he wants to support, I mean, it's a two-horse race. If you want to support the former Prime Minister, go for it directly and announce it on that NBC.
Are you trying to say he has no choice here? That he has, it's either this or that? And
I mean, as Alenga mentioned, the possibility of him winning presidency is zero. It's extremely zero.
So are you trying to say that Musalia Mudavadi cannot, or he's not supposed to come and say that he wants to become the country's president? That if he's to be firm enough, he should just say who he's supporting today? That is what you're saying?
I'm saying that because I'm looking at him in terms of his political future. In the strategy for him in terms of its strategy future. But you're the same people who are telling me here that Musalia needs to assert himself, that he needs to make his own decision, that he needs to change. And one of that decision could be is that in the interest of the country, I am sacrificing my presidential ambition for this particular person. Can you remember what Nani said at some point before he died? The former Vice President Saitoti, something that is still remembered up to today, that a nation is greater than an individual. That is a statement that he said, and people still remember of him up to today. And that was a statement that showed a man who had an ambition for this country but sacrificed it because he knew that at that time the country was bigger than him.
Would that be an earthquake?
If he pulls something like that and say that, you know what, the country is bigger than myself, and because of that, I'm making this decision because of the country.
Alenga, what do you think? Sacrificing your presidency in the interest of the country.
I totally agree with Daktari. The only thing that can shock us is if Musalia Mudavadi says he's not going to vie because he has looked at all the parameters and sees it will just be a waste of time for many people.
But wouldn't that hurt what you say his already dented image in terms of his ability to really stand for what he believes in. He has stood for what he believes in, which is to become the country's 5th president. All this while, only for him to bring his delegates together and tell them, I'm leaving it all up and giving it to somebody else.
That will be the first time ever that Musalia Mudavadi has made a decision. Because as it were, you would really look at it from this perspective. Musalia Mudavadi speaks about the economy this, the economy that. He tells us the way the economy is doing bad. But yet, the same Musalia Mudavadi that knows that the economy is doing bad is coming into the election of 2022 as a spoiler to cause us a runoff that will give us an extra cost to that same economy that he says is staggering.
You don't know that for a fact. He hasn't said what his plans are.
If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's typically a duck. You cannot change that. So, but what we cannot also underscore is the fact that Musalia Mudavadi has perpetually been resurrected by the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga in his political deathbed. And this time round, he has decided to be the ungrateful and walk away. So this time round, we don't really know who is going to resurrect Musalia Mudavadi if he goes down onto his sickbed once again. But that would be a very important thing for us, and that's why we are watching keenly the young and emerging leaders, especially from Western Kenya. We are watching this NDC with a very keen eye, because this, to me, is a place where Musalia Mudavadi has chosen to write his own obituary. And after this anticlimax, there is an NDC which is too lazy to even find the delegates gather. You know, sometimes...
No, according to the program, they're still in line, according to...
In this city, even baby showers get quorum faster than...
No. That's really unfair. I mean...
So clearly, for us, we are happy because we are looking at this. So I think there's an important thing in this country that needs to be checked. These tribal kingpins have put a stronghold onto their regions. And that prevents those regions from creating or from they prevent those regions from pushing forward new creative and a new crop of leaders. So it is always that you have to go behind this tribal kingpin, and whatever he says, you're just saying, yes, sir, yes, we agree, yes, my party leader. That prevents us from getting new emerging leaders. That is not what happened in this country when we got independence. When we got independence, there was no tribal kingpins. And that is why very young leaders like Tom Mboya were able to rise. Very young leaders like Pio Gama Pinto were able to rise. But then even some very novices in the politics were able to rise during that period. Then we reached a place when we started ring-fencing regions. And by that ring-fencing of regions, we prevent ourselves from thinking beyond what we can just see, focusing on the issues of our communities and finding out which is the best way forward. We can bring the issues of our community to the table of discussion. And while we come to that table of discussion, we are so cautious to arrive at this table of discussion, not from a point of weakness, but from a point where we are all dignified as Kenyans. If you look at the Western Kenya region and you tell me one contribution that Musalia Mudavadi has brought to the table of negotiation on behalf of the community, I will tell you there is none. If you narrow down to his Vihiga County, where I come from, there is no single institution built by Musalia Mudavadi. Even a secondary school that was even named after him, they see completely nothing. So if you cannot take care of your backyard, if you can ignore the issues and the needs of your people, then why are you calling yourself a national leader? Get out of the space. And because you have refused to get out of the space, nature itself is getting you out of the space. So this anticlimax in Bomas is nature itself getting Mudavadi out of the space, so that beyond 2022, we can have different leaders that can think about their communities. And to the Western community, the Western Kenya community, there has to come a time where we must say no to these political experiments of Mudavadi.
Right.
Just let's walk onto the table of discussion from a dignified point of view. We cannot be crying foul every time.
All right. I still choose to give him and his party the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this could be him walking into the system. Maybe this could be him making an announcement that is going to change how he has played his politics. Maybe this could be the chance that Kenya gets to see a different type of Mudavadi. So we still give him the benefit of the doubt. But as we do that, let's talk about the OKA factor in this whole equation. This is a gentleman who has been a very I would say pivotal part of the OKA foundation of coalition. I mean, what would you say when this coalition was being founded would have been the game changer in the 2022 politics, and has it met that expectation? How it has gone? How they have even come out and spoken publicly about what they believe in as OKA, and is OKA okay as we speak today?
I mean, the OKA was sort of it was sort of an idea to create a third force that would help to make even other presidential candidates galvanize and join into an idea that he had created of the unity of Kenya. And I think that they started it up as a way of creating a way that, this is, you remember when the same way NASA was started, create a coalition of the willing, and then out of the coalition of the willing, you mobilize people to join in, and then it becomes a force that ends up being a political coalition. So that was what was anticipated in OKA. So it was expected that perhaps maybe in OKA, the other presidential candidates were going to join in, maybe Raila would join in, and then they would support one person. But I think there were challenges that cropped in, especially, and I think also at that time when OKA was being created, the direction of who the president was supporting was not yet very clear, and so there was within OKA proponents, they believed that maybe one of them could be a compromise candidate that could have been supported. But then as things moved on, and the signs of the president not supporting any of the OKA principles emerged, and the former prime minister also being very clear that he is in the presidential race, it sort of created some sort of confusion. And so the dilemma of the OKA principles has therefore been sort of, how do we then hold this coalition in spite of these external forces? And some of the external forces are, within OKA, there are those who are a strong no for the deputy president. Like, when you look at, for example, Cyrus Jirongo, you look at someone like Gideon Moi, these are people who cannot entertain any talk of the DP. And also they are, and you look at, for example, Musalia Mudavadi, he's a safe pair of hands, he's able to talk to them. You look at somebody like the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, he has been in politics for a long time, and will he be able to play second fiddle for the deputy president? Such a big challenge as well. So you realize that the dynamics that were underpinning OKA are so many that you find it that it was actually better for, maybe this is what maybe Musalia has seen, it is better for me maybe to move out. I'm not saying he's moving, but that's what my presumption is. It's finding that, for me to make a decision, I just have to jump out so that I can create more friends, because I've realized the current friends I have, I cannot have liberty to make the friends I want to make.
So the outfit OKA, from where you sit, Alenga, how firm was it, and could it have held to the August polls?
They say you are as strong as your weakest link. When you look at OKA, One Kenya Alliance, fundamentally you'd want to discuss what was the reason that brought them together. Number one, the reason that brought them together was the grievances they had within NASA And that was basically because of money. They actually cited that as a reason, that they were not given money that was given to the political parties while in NASA. So that's what made them bolt out. So these people came out to form an alliance based on their parochial and personal grievance of having not been given party funds. So it was not really a nationalistic agenda. So once they get into One Kenya Alliance, they now start figuring out, what do Kenyans want? And that is why they were not able to really determine what Kenyans want. And then they narrowed down the presidential election to combating Raila Odinga. They narrowed down, like you would almost think that that is the only competitor they're having in that race. So give us a national conversation. Once we buy into that national conversation, then we can choose whether we want to go with you or not. But when you form a coalition based on your personal issues and personal grievances, you're very sure that that reason is so immediate. It might not even last 3 months. And that is why, after a very short time, they could not even agree on what they really wanted. Another very important point to discuss is the analysis of the nomenclature within One Kenya Alliance. As Dr. has said, it had people who have issues even with the DP, and others have issues with Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And so they could not really agree on one thing that they want to do as an alliance. And then number 3, you look at the issue of, and most fundamentally, you know, when you're going for presidential office, there are 3 things that are very key. You must have the funds and the resources. Number 2, you must have the political capital. I mean, you can go to Garissa and people will come to see who this man that has come to Garissa. People will not have to ask, and who is that? You know, so you must have that political capital. And then number 3, you must have intelligence and an organized team, organizational skills, because you need to know what is going on. But then, as it were, if you look at these One Kenya Alliance principles, they were all coming in from a point of weakness. So they have gathered like a losers club. And then you could also point their aim towards that kind of disunity that was within their own ranks. And it was very clear that they were not going to really last, because, and then you find a time when they now engage experts to be able to, you know, inform the decisions they make, and then they rubbish the same experts. So this was a coalition that was not really headed anywhere.
I don't know why we're using the word was.
It's no longer, it's no longer alive.
I will probe you on that in just a bit. Allow me to go back to the Bomas of Kenya. Timothy Kipnusu is there for us on standby to give us an update on what is happening right now. This is about this is about 12:54. Kipnusu, what do we know and what is the expectation?
A very good afternoon to you, Safina Cheng Oma. Once again, there at the Broadcasting House in Nairobi. Yes, indeed, I'm still coming to you live from the Bomas of Kenya, painting a picture of this big day in the calendar of Kenya, where we are waiting for that pronouncement for the ANC party leader, Musalia Mudavadi. Bearing in mind, he made the remarks a week ago during his tour in Nyamira that he will shake the political waves this particular day. I understand that right now is within the Bomas of Kenya, but currently is meeting the delegates just before he makes his way in the auditorium, now waiting for the program to kick off. And just to understand the feel here on the ground, I'm joined by Dr. Osborne Mabalu, who happens to be an aspirant in Matayos constituency, position that is being held by Godfrey Odanga, to tell us about what is the expectation this particular day. Many thanks indeed for joining us in KBC Channel 1. Kenyans are waiting this particular day. You've been keeping us waiting also, because we understand that the program was to start earlier today. What are some of the expectations this day?
Yeah, well, we are expecting an earthquake, the way His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi said. And this is going to shake everybody. It will shake down here, Nairobi. It will shake Busia and Matayos constituency, especially Matayos constituency. It's also going even to shake the whole world, because he's going to make a big pronouncement touching on the livelihoods of people. and especially the professionals whom I represent. You know, in this country for a long time, we struggle, we take our children to universities. When they go there, they come out and they're the most underpaid people. A teacher with bachelor's in education being paid 8,000 shillings by boards of management of a school. It's pathetic. A lawyer earning 10,000 shillings just because she or he has never been employed by the government. It's pathetic. And it's like in this country, the higher you go, the more useless you become. But Musalia embraces professionalism. Musalia embraces intellectualism. I have sat with him. He's a man of reason. He's the only voice of reason in the Kenyan politics. We have decided at this time we don't want to leave politics to goons. We don't want to leave politics to hecklers. We don't want to leave politics to idlers. When I made a choice to join politics, people were asking me, why are you leaving a very good job to join politics? Politics for people is for Wakora. I told them, no, we want to go and sanitize politics. And the guy who can sanitize politics of this country is none other than Musalia Mudavadi.
Dr. Mabalo, perhaps do we expect maybe he's going to do it alone, or perhaps he's going to join the OKA principle and become the flag bearer? What do we expect? According to you, how you're measuring the political waves here in this particular environment?
From where I see it, I think he has what it takes to go it alone. You know, I won't mind even if you know, let him go alone. Because this OKA principle, they have been in this thing for a long time. I don't see them adding any value in this thing. They are not adding any value. Personally, from where I sit, let them go and do their own things. But Musalia, we are with him. Yes.
The biggest thing that is really affecting Kenya, and we're talking about, and Musalia have been talking about, is about the economy, and of course also the issue about corruption. Do you think he's the best person to deal with such issues?
Oh yes, he's the only politician that has never been tainted. You know, our economy has been left to thrive in the hands of brokers, entrepreneurs, thieves who are plundering our economy. Our value system has changed. That somebody doesn't question how you got the money, but he's so much interested on how much you have. You know, our value system has gone bad. And when you talk of pesa mfukoni, you see, very few people have pesa in mfukoni. You know, very few people have pesa in their pockets. But the majority of people who have pesa are those entrepreneurs, those thieves, the people whom we want to remove from power. And that's why we say, with the economy, leave this guy. When he was the Minister for Finance, our economy was so good. And look at, his team, people like Dr. Bunyasi Sakwa, a stalwart in ANC. That's an economist of a high repute. There's a guy who has brought up the World Bank. Get Musalia Mudavadi. He has a team. Some of us were here to support him. And that's why I was telling them that, that's why I'm telling everybody that Musalia respects professionalism. We want to infuse professionalism in the treasury. We want to infuse professionalism in the agriculture. We want to infuse professionalism in all sectors of the economy, so that goons should not continue handling our economy. And that's what Musalia stands for.
That is your opinion about goons. This is not KBC who has talked about goons. But just to wind up, you've talked about Dr. Bunyasi, who is a member of parliament, and talking about he's one of the guys supporting Musalia. But just on 31st last month, Musalia got a big blow after his deputy party leader left him and joined ADAP. Do you think he has numbers? He has some people who will be able to take him through until he reaches State House?
My friend, that guy who defected, the deputy party leader, he went alone. We are here, and I believe he was replaced immediately. We have a cohort of professionals. We have a cohort of party loyalists. We have a big cohort of people who are there to stand with the Musalia. Let them go. He'll replace them. In fact, even the moment they start thinking of going, already there's somebody there. There's nothing. It's not rocket science to be a deputy party leader. Anybody can be a deputy party leader. Can be a deputy party leader. If he goes, other people are there. We are here. And you are telling Musalia he should not fear people who are running away. Let them run away. Yes.
The current crop of leadership, you're talking about, you're eyeing for MP seat in Matayos.
Oh, yes.
The kind of leadership we have in the parliament, do you think also it's giving Kenyan value for money? Just 1 second or 10 seconds.
Oh, no. You know, that's why I said I want to deny myself, leave the plum job that I've been having so that I go there. I sanitize the politics, the economic politics.
All right, so that is what is happening at the Bomas of Kenya right now. Timothy Kipnusu, they are talking to some of the delegates who have already arrived for the ANC Party National Delegates Conference that is happening today. And one of the reasons why Kenyans are focusing on this particular National Delegates Conference is because the party leader Musalia Mudavadi had, said that he's going to be making a major announcement that is going to change the political landscape in this particular country. Of course, we are waiting for that announcement that will be happening today. We'll be covering that live for you. We have been doing that for a better part of the morning. But we just want to pave way for the lunchtime news so that you can also know what has been happening elsewhere in the country. Nisi Mano is already on standby for that. But I've been engaging a panel of two gentlemen, Alenga Torostad, a communication expert and political analyst, and of course, Dr. Churchill Saoke, a governance and leadership expert. Of course, just to give you a final chance to give us your final thoughts as we bring in the news. All right, I'm told we don't have time for that, sorry. Of course, we'll pick up this conversation in the near future, so let's just pave way for the lunchtime news. Then when we come back, we will be giving you more about the Super Sunday when the Amani National Congress party leader is making his big announcement. Do stay with us.
Furnitures Limited. We're local manufacturers of quality office furniture, dealers in quality office equipment like fireproof safes and cabinets. Our automated state-of-the-art factories at Henna House along Enterprise Road in Nairobi's industrial area. Our showroom is at Uniafrica House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street. We are passionate believers in locally manufactured goods. When you and I buy locally made furniture, we impact on the livelihoods of our brothers and sisters. For orders, visit our showroom at Uniafrica House, Koinange Lane off Koinange Street. Beacon Furnitures Limited. Jenga Kenya, tupate ajira.
Tusirudi nyuma kwa mipaka na nchi kufungwa. Tusirudi kwa biashara na shule kufungwa. Kwa kutoweza kukutana. Kwa kutengana na tuwapendao, tusirudi nyuma.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendelee na maisha vizuri.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge,
pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge,
pata chanjo.
Na kuhitaji unikinge, pata chanjo.
Ili tuendeleze maisha bora kwa ajili ya wapendao, nchi yetu na usoni wetu. Kwa ajili yetu sisi sote. Pata chanjo. Kaa chonjo. Kuhakikisha nchi yetu na uchumi wetu umestawi katika uwazi. Tusirudi nyuma.
Kuna yule mama mjamzito.
Achana naye, yote adili naye huyo .
Bwana Deputy Governor, hao mazungumzo yana umuhimu gani zaidi yetu sisi ma MCAs wako?
Kweli sikufanya vile kwa kupenda kwangu, bali kulikuwa na msukumo. Msukumo wa nani?
Nyinyi mnanitegemea, mimi nawategemea, na nyinyi pia mnamtegemea huyu. Shida iko wapi?
Lakini ongea naye.
Hakuna cha kuongea naye, lazima muheshimu sheria na kanuni za kila mahali.
taking Isaac to Moriah. We'll sacrifice to the Lord.
Father, why do we sacrifice?
We sacrifice out of obedience. It's how we worship.
My God! Have mercy, oh God!
Where is the lamb for the burnt offering?
The Lord will provide himself a lamb.
Today with 1,000 shillings, you can open a fund, a money market fund, an equity fund, a growth fund, and you start investing.
But how do you come up with a plan or goals that are attainable?
One, you have to be a risk taker. Don't think too much about any investment that you want to take on. Jump in, take the risk. As long as you are clear that there is integrity in that investment, not those quick get-rich-quick schemes.
I know you can invest with than 1,000.
Yes, there are, and there are many, many funds now you can choose from, depending on where you want to go. What are your goals? Short-term goals, because the young people want short-term goals first. We've discovered that they don't want long-term. So,
leave the rest to me. I'm going to figure out where we are going to go from here.
You just need to buckle down and work harder, and you can achieve success.
She hasn't said anything, but I wouldn't say we're that close.
If your entire life revolves around fighting and screwing people over, what is there to be happy about?
You know, what do I have to be happy about?
I have 2 months. I still have a lot I'd like to do.
用一段故事建筑一座城堡，会放进去后就不再。
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición. Cada dolor.
Lying heart.
Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
We take it on at the right time.
Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
The Honorable Mutahi Kagwe.
Chief Justice Martha Karambuko.
This is KBC, is the voice of Kenya.
Asking the right questions.
I don't know how it made you feel as speaker who is presiding over a house where members can be compromised with 10,000 shillings.
We keep our guests comfortable. A mission to ensure our audience gets a complete story.
For a few hours or so, I thought this is it. My end has come.
If really we want an end of this pandemic, we must fight.
Our goal, to tell it as it is for the benefit of our viewer.
And I'm sure we will have good discussions.
All right.
That will make probably your viewers understand KDF better.
With 21 radio outlets.
During a live interview on KBC TV, Chief of Defense Forces General Robert Kibosha.
Jaji mkuu kwa mara ya kwanza katika mahojiano yake ya kipekee na runinga ya KBC Channel 1.
And 2 TV stations covering over 90% of the entire country. The message always gets home. KBC, the home of on-air TV interviews.
It is 1 p.m. on the 23rd day of January 2022. Thank you for joining us here at the Broadcasting House. I am Nisi Imano and I'm joined by Lensa Odingo as our sign language interpreter for this bulletin. We are of course following up on the live event that is currently ongoing at the Bomas of Kenya where Kamche Menza is on standby. Live pictures there, and we are going to be following up on that story to bring you a comprehensive bulletin. And when she's ready, We will give you that information and go live with her. But right now, let's get you updated on what we had prepared for you in this bulletin. All right, so it is a sigh of relief for dozens of squatters living on a piece of land owned by East Africa Portland Cement Company in Athi River, Machakos County, after the two parties reached a truce that will see the squatters own the land. The cement firm has finally accepted to sell the piece of land measuring 1331 acres to the squatters after 11 years of tussle.
Hundreds of squatters occupying a piece of land in Mavoko, Machakos County, previously owned by East Africa Portland Cement Company and later surrendered to KCB Bank, will soon be landowners after the disputing parties agreed to let go the land.
So that you sit down, have you confirmed that this is a true position?
The land has been a subject of push and pull between the squatters and the cement processor for close to 11 years.
Na watu wengi wenye tulikuwa hapa hawakuwa na makao, wengi sana walipeana shares zao na wakaenda kutafuta mashamba nyumbani, na kuna wengi pia, kuna namba kubwa yenye bado iko hapa kwa shamba.
The company has finally bowed to pressure and accepted to sell the parcel of land measuring 1,331 acres. This is the second piece of land Portland Cement is surrendering in 2 years' time after recently transferring 745 acres of its land to KCB, valued at 5 billion shillings as installment of accrued 6.6 billion shillings loan owed to the bank.
Sasa ile maelewano ambaye iko na ambaye imeleta tukojoto hapa, nafikiri ni mambo ya bei na mambo ya muda wa kulipa, au sio?
Area leaders eyed various organs of government to support the deal with Portland to ensure the squatters get title deeds in due time.
Na mimi na county government tukiongozwa na majority leader wa Machakos County tumeamua kwa kimoja kwamba hawa squatters, ile bei ambayo imetolewa tumeonelea iko juu.
Negotiations between the bank agents and squatters on sale of land are at high gear. Portland, under board resolution approved by the cabinet, seeks to dispose of 16,000 acres of land to raise 45 billion shillings to settle debts and turn around the company.
Away from that, imagine being in need of relief assistance, but when you finally receive it, you simply can't eat because the food is either too hard to chew or you simply have no teeth to dig in. But then, just when you thought things couldn't get better, the Good Samaritan converts the assistance into cash so you can buy the type of food you want. Well, that is the story of a 74-year-old woman from Turbi village in Marsabit County. Ruth Wamboi with more.
Kaso Wakomano is approaching her senior years. The burden of old age is catching up with her, and just like any other normal 74-year-old, her pace is getting slower by the day.
Anasema hiyo pesa kuchukua amefurahi sana, kitu ya kwanza. Alafu alikuwa anaenda naye kutumia kununua maziwa, kununua viatu.
For months, Kahaso has been receiving food rations from the government, but because she has no teeth, she has had either to give it away or let it sit there.
Hii pesa tangu ilikuja, hata watu wanaongoja na masikio pesa yake mengi, hata wanasumbua useni, wanapigiwa useni, wanaambia pesa imekuja. Sasa wakisikia imekuja, asubuhi watu
nafurahia kabisa
kwa sababu inasaidia sana hii pesa. Wale hata wana mali ya kumimbi kama mbuzi au ng'ombe ya kuuza, hii pesa wanategemea hii kama mshahara yao.
Kahaso is among thousands of senior citizens who depend on the government for their daily upkeep.
Wakati hii pesa nakuja, nimesaidika. Mimi akuli mingi, 200 mimi nakula, 300 mimi naweka. Kama mimi namaliza miezi 6-7 hivi, maswa kama nachukua 2, moja mimi nabiga naye jioni, moja mimi nabiga naye asubuhi. Hiyo pesa hiyo mingi ni ya maswa.
Thanks to the cash transfer program, Kahaso can now buy friendlier food and keep some for herself for a rainy day.
Alafu kuna wengine wanaenda shule anamlipia fee, so anasema anamsaidia mahali yote hiyo pesa.
Wale watoto hao wamefukuzwa shule wanalipa. Kuna wale wengine wanajaribu kuanza na biashara ya rejareja kama credit hivi, wananunua credit ya 100 wanauza, wanapata 60 shillings hapo. So inasaidia watu sana.
The cash transfer program has empowered people like Kahaso, earning them trust from shopkeepers who do not hesitate to extend them credit way ahead of the payday.
Sai ukipata namna hii unapata mzuri pesa yake. Yeye ni mzuri kwanza, hawezi kaa na pesa ya watu. Mama ni mzuri. Sasa hii pesa ukiongeza hata nalipa tu mzuri kama kawaida.
Pia amenunua mbuzi karibu 20. Ile 2,200 ananunua ile kamtoto ya mbuzi na inaendelea. Na sisi pande yetu hata sisi tumefaidika kidogo kwa sababu ile commission tunapata inatuinua.
The Hunger Safety Net program is targeting some 20,452 households in Marsabit County alone and thousands more across the region.
We have a database called the Enhanced Single Registry, and within that database we have the group HSNP beneficiaries, Group 1 and Group 2. Group 1 are the regular beneficiaries receiving a bi-monthly 5,400 shillings bi-monthly. Group 2 are the ones that whenever we have a drought situation like this, they could easily, slide to poor level. So these are the ones that we, upscale and start targeting them.
Ruth Wamboy for Lunchtime News.
All right, I want to take you now to the Bomas of Kenya. As I had mentioned earlier, the ANC function is ongoing, and live pictures there of OKA principals who have just arrived and are making their way into the Bomas of Kenya, where the ANC is holding a national delegates conference. We are giving you this live event, and of course, as you can see there, OKA principals arriving at the Bomas of Kenya for the ANC function, just amid the expectations and speculations of what Musalia Mudavadi might be calling the big announcement. Those are live pictures that we are giving to you from Bomas of Kenya. And there you have it. We are following up on that story. Live from the Bomas of Kenya. Our team is on the ground. We will be getting in touch with Kamche Menza, who is already at Bomas of Kenya, and she will be bringing us up to date on that. All right, even as we give you those live pictures, of course, like I had mentioned, that's a story we're following up and we'll be bringing to you as it unfolds. But for now, police in Nigeria have arrested 2 suspects for allegedly abducting and killing a 5-year-old school girl. The owner of the school where the girl Hanifa Abubakar was learning is among the suspects. The two, Abdul Malik Mohammed Tanko, who owns the school, and Hashim Isyaku, allegedly kidnapped the girl in the northern Kano state in December and demanded a ransom of $10,800. According to the police, 34-year-old Tanko later killed Hanifa after realizing she had recognized him. The remains of the girl, Hanifa Abubakar, have been exhumed for medical examination and a proper burial for her family.
The discovery of the decomposing body of a 5-year-old schoolgirl has triggered shock and outrage across Nigeria. The girl was kidnapped and murdered by her own teacher, Abdul Malik Mohammed Tanko, who led officers to the school premises where he had buried the schoolgirl's body in a shallow grave. Police said the suspect killed Hanifa after realizing she had recognized him. Elsewhere, the UK has accused President Putin of plotting to install a pro-Moscow figure to lead Ukraine's government. The Foreign Office took the unusual step of naming former Ukrainian MP Yevgeny Muyarev as a potential Kremlin candidate. Russia has moved 10,000 troops near its border with Ukraine but denies it's planning an invasion. UK ministers have warned that the Russian government will face serious consequence if there's an incursion. And lastly, the New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has cancelled a wedding celebration as the Pacific nation grapples with the emerging outbreak of the highly transmissible Omicron corona variant. She announced the cancellation during a news conference on Sunday in which she unveiled new public health measures and restrictions on public gatherings to limit the virus spread.
And in the local scene, Baringo North Member of Parliament William Cheptumo is calling on the government to restore normalcy in insecurity-prone areas of Baringo to allow candidates who are sitting for national exam prepare adequately.
Speaking during the unveiling of a school bus in Keturo Secondary School, Baringo North, Cheptumo said 5 schools have been closed as a result of banditry attacks in the region. He said it was high time the government improved the security situation in the area.
Mashule zimefungwa sasa. Wanafunzi kufanya mtihani ni shida. Mashule zimefungwa. And therefore the future of our young people, of our children again, is at stake. It is the business of the government of the day to ensure that they guarantee education life to our people.
Cheptumo, at the same time, urged the government to redeploy national police reservists to help eradicate the frequent banditry attacks in the country.
It is important to deploy more security personnel. Kwa hiyo sehemu nimesema na mambo ya KPR yaangaliwe ili tuwe na usalama katika area hiyo.
Elsewhere, Speaker of the National Assembly Justin Muturi now says the cycle of unfulfilled promises during campaigns can only be eradicated if Kenyans use the coming elections to change the governance tradition. Elsewhere, Vita MP Abdul Swamad Nasir has warned youth in the country to avoid being used by politicians in political violence as the country drifts closer to the August polls.
Political leaders in a Nakuru hotel, the Democratic Party presidential candidate Justin Muturi called on Kenyans to make wise decisions at the ballot.
2018 mnajua tutataka, 2019 mnajua tutataka. Sasa na kazi ile tulikupea utafanya nini kama utakuwa kila siku unatuambia mnajua tutataka?
Muturi at the same time hit out at the Deputy President William Ruto, claiming he has been on the campaign trail since 2017. Elsewhere, Vita MP Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir has cautioned the youth to be wary of self-seeking politicians.
Siasa za propaganda zimepitwa na wakati. Kama wewe huwezi kuuza sera zako, uachane na mambo mengine.
Nasir, who is now seeking the Mombasa gubernatorial position, was speaking in Jomvu sub-county during an ODM voter awareness registration exercise where he noted that politicians in the country are continually engaging the youth in perpetrating various acts of violence against political opponents.
Hii siasa ya vijana kutumiwa kuleta fujo ni kwa sababu wanawaona wale viongozi wao wanavyofanya.
Still in Mombasa, at the Mamangina waterfront, a section of members of Luo community, led by Michael Magak, affirmed their support for UDA presidential hopeful William Ruto.
We have interrogated the Deputy President's agenda and vision for the country. And we have no reservations. And we have faith and confidence that the Deputy President has good agenda for this country, and the Luo community must be part and parcel of that agenda.
Elsewhere, gospel artist Ruben Kigame launched his presidential bid on Friday at his rural village Musinaka in Luanda sub-county in Vihiga County, where he dismissed the narrative that the presidential contest is a two-horse race.
So you can be sure we need a fresh start. So you can be sure I will be the person who will go down in history as the one who slew the dragon of corruption and impunity. I'm the champion of authentic leadership, the real deal.
The gospel artist promised to bring a new rebirth of the country. Geshoke Washira, Lunchtime News.
Away from that, Narok South Member of Parliament Korey Olelemain has called on Kenyans to be the ambassadors of peace as the country heads to the general election. Speaking in Onolonga Boys High School while handing over several buses to various schools in Narok South, which were bought through the CDF kitty, Lemain said political leaders should focus on unity. He said Kenyans have the freedom to seek votes anywhere and urged those out to cause chaos that to instead preach peace.
Hii Kenya ni yetu sisi sote. Pembe zote za Kenya hii. Magharibi, kusini, kaskazini, mashariki. Ile kitu sisi tunaomba ni kuhakikisha kwamba sisi hii nchi iko sawa sawa, kwa sababu ni maendeleo tunataka. Wakenya wanataka kuona uchumi ikirudi. Na ndio unaona sasa hizi hatuna mambo mengi, kuna mambo zingine bado tunafanya, lakini hiyo strategy plan lazima nifuate vile iko, kwa sababu hiyo ndio ono ya raia. Ninataka kuomba wanafunzi wetu Kenya hii, kuna hiyo msemo inasemekana wao ama nyinyi ni viongozi wa kesho. Ile kitu inaonyesha wewe ni kiongozi wa kesho hasa ni vile unajishikilia kwa shule.
And on to sports, the Kenya Taekwondo Federation held its first national selection trials as they embarked on the journey towards Paris 2024 Olympic Games and 2023 African Games at the Pipeline Taekwondo Talent Academy Survey. The tournament attracted over 60 athletes, falling in 30 bouts from Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Kiambu, Kibabi University, Kenya Defence Forces, and Kenya Prisons.
The Kenya Taekwondo Federation, which is anticipating a thrilling season of 6 local championships and 8 international championships to acquire ranking towards the games, is looking to grasp even higher points ranging from G1 to G20. Speaking as the national head coach, Nesmas Mbati expounded lucidly on the selection system on the day's tournament, which saw the top 3 athletes from different regions in each category selected. The federation, which saw Kenya's taekwondo sensation Faith Ogano represent the country at the Tokyo Olympic Games, has also imported new scoring systems and is looking to add gym equipment and a strength and conditioning specialist. Frederick Muki for Channel 1 Sports.
And professional golfer Sydney Wemba led his team comprising amateurs Timu Kiruti, Michael Kiruti and Edgar Njenga to winning the Pro-Am edition of the Safari Tour played at Limuru Country Club. The team hit a combined score of 87 points to beat their nearest challengers composed of pro Dennis Sikwa and amateurs Ibrahim Lande, Stephen Dungu and G. Weru, who combined for a score of 84 points. Coming in third with 83 points was the team led by home pro player John Karichu and comprising of amateurs Ann Wanjama, Moses Kioni and Samuel Garuia. In the individual amateur prizes, Solomon Irimu, playing off handicap 11, was the overall winner, having scored 45 points. In the ladies category, Gladys Karuri, playing off handicap 33, scored 34 points to emerge the winner. Erling Haaland scored before. And Erling Haaland scored before, later going off injured as Borussia Dortmund won 3-2 at Hoffenheim to move to within the 3 points of Bundesliga leaders Bayern Munich. Bayern can restore their 6-point lead with a win at Hertha Berlin on Sunday. And And at exactly 33 minutes past 1 p.m., we come to the end of lunchtime news. But as I had said, we are following up on the live event at Bomas of Kenya, where the ANC is holding their National Delegates Conference. That will be coming up, so please keep it KBC. I am Nisi Imano. Our sign language interpreter has been Byron Abuli. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.